doing some ombre magic shaded powdered eyebrows today. So this is a permanent makeup eyebrow, kind of like microblading, but a different process. You get a slightly different look depending on your skin type and your goals for what you want your brows to look like. Different techniques are better for different people. So this is the lovely Jessica. Hello. So she is going to be doing them today. So you all can watch along and see exactly what it's like to have your eyebrows done. So then you can literally just wake up in the morning, throw on some lip gloss, and be ready to go. If y'all have questions at any point, please just type them in, and we will make sure to answer them as soon as we can. Hope you enjoy.
Stay as relaxed as possible here. We are using the brand new Tina Davies I Love Ink collection that everybody has just been dying to get their hands on. How's that feeling so far?
Feels fine. I don't really feel anything. A little bit of pressure, but no pain.
Nice little bit of soft color in there. This first pass that we're doing is just again in a nice soft background. We're not trying to cram any color in.
So before we started, Jessica and I discussed what would be the best option for me, and we decided to go with the powdered brow instead of microblading. So Jessica, could you kind of maybe tell people who is a better candidate for which type?
So microblading really is not a good option for the majority of the population. It takes an almost perfect palette of skin. You know, lots of people have a lot of different issues with their skin. So if you have oily skin, this is not good for microblading because the oil in the skin can cause the strokes to blur. So what happens then is you can either end up with what looks like a powdered brow anyway, or you could also end up with fat strokes, which obviously fat strokes do not look good, right? We want those fine, crisp hair strokes. Larger pore size, kind of same thing, can cause the strokes to bleed out a little bit in the skin so that they're not that fine, crisp look that you're going for. Also, if you have very fine, delicate, translucent skin, you know, if the integrity of your skin is, you know, compromised in any way, that also does not make for a good healed result with microblading. Not that it can't happen, but more often than not, it is not the best option for those types of skin. Pretty much anyone can have a powder brow. People ask all the time, what's the difference between microblading and a powder brow? Microblading does simulate the look of individual hairs, whereas a powder brow is more of it looks more like a makeup application. And you know, sometimes people are a little afraid of that. You know, they want it to look natural. But you know, what I say is that we're trained to see brows that have been filled in as natural. You know, unless someone's doing a really horrible job of filling in their brows, no one looks at you different for having done that, you know. So it just looks like you've done a really nice job filling in your brows. You can get a much more, you know, defined look to them as well. So yeah, pretty much anybody can have a powder brow. This particular style that I'm doing now is meant to be very soft, very pixelated, and can give you that nice ombre effect where it is darker out towards the tail and gradually transitions to be much lighter at the bulb closest to the nose. I can think of anything else. No matter which style that we do, we always want to make sure that it's something that is going to look good even when you have no other makeup on.
And how long can someone expect for the powder brow or the microblading to last? Is it for the rest of their lives, or?
No, you're going to hear a lot of terms out there in the world where people will call it semi-permanent makeup. That term is very misleading. It's really only used just so that people understand that, you know, color boosts are necessary every, you know, couple of years or so, depending on, you know, which style that they've done. It is a tattoo. All tattoos fade, but the ones on our face are going to fade faster for a few different reasons. I mean, the skin is obviously a little bit different. You've got more fluid in your skin. Due to the natural tones of the colors that we're using, they're going to fade faster because it's the lighter colors that fade the fastest. And also, your face is just, you know, constantly subjected to, you know, the sun. So, you know, even just doing a Target run, you know, going to the grocery store, they're always subjected to the sun. So again, it's going to fade faster than, you know, tattoos that you cover up all the time. Powder brows do tend to last a little bit longer than microblading on average. Usually about anywhere from 1 to 3 years is normal, with 2 being the average. Microblading is more like every year to 18 months. Now, some people, you know, obviously retain better than others, and that's for a variety of different reasons. Again, you know, the skin plays a huge factor. You know, the oilier the skin, the faster it fades. You know, someone who already produces a lot of melanin, you know, Hispanic skin definitely retains color a lot longer. Asian skin retains color longer. So the fairer you are, generally the faster that it fades. And some of it is just personal preference. You know, some people like it to look brand new all the time. And then others, you know, will draw it out a little bit longer, which I don't necessarily recommend. The longer you draw it out, you know, the more likely it is that you're going to need more than one session when you come back in for your color boost.
What am I going to need to do after we get finished here today to take care of my new eyebrow color?
Eyebrows. Well, first of all, you're going to have to be patient with the process. So today, when we're done, you're definitely going to feel a little bit on the bold side, okay? There's always, you know, kind of a little initial healing period, and you know you're going to go through a few phases that you have to be patient with. So today, like I said, they're going to be bold. Tomorrow and the next day, as some of the moisture draws out of the brows, it's going to look even darker. It's not actually going to get darker, but it will appear that way temporarily. After today, when you leave, you're going to most definitely, you're going to be wiping your brows about every 30 minutes or so with either like a diluted witch hazel or even, you know, some cotton rounds with like just a really mild, gentle, fragrance-free kind of soap. Just to get off any of the excess blood or lymphatic fluid that can come to the surface after trauma. You do not want that getting caught up in the scab because they are going to kind of crust over. I hate using the word scab because that scares people, and it really isn't all that scary. So you're going to wipe them, and then after you wipe them every 30 minutes, you're going to apply the aftercare. Then tonight, you're going to be making sure that you sleep on your back. You don't want your pillow rubbing onto your new brows. And that's going to carry over for about the next 10 days. So the initial healing process lasts about 10 days, where you kind of have to baby them. So you don't want too much friction, you don't want too much moisture, you want just the right amount of everything. So tomorrow you'll wipe the brows about 4 times and apply the ointment after you do the really gentle wash on there. So once in the morning, then kind of, you know, around lunchtime, around dinner time, and then before bed. So wipe and apply the ointment. Then the 3rd day, you're just going to go to once in the morning and once before bed. Same thing. Really, there's not a whole lot that you need to do. People can get carried away sometimes. You don't want to apply a lot of the aftercare. You want to always remember less is more. Less is more in this case. Too much can smother it. And it does need to breathe to heal properly. You're just trying to replace some of the lost moisture that occurs, you know, when you're going through the healing process. You're not necessarily trying to add moisture, if that makes sense. And it'll start to flake off from the scabbing right around day 5. Plus or minus a day or so is totally normal. You know, some people heal a little bit faster than others. So don't, you know, hyper focus on, you know, any specific number of days that, you know, you're thinking something should happen on. We all heal at our own pace. And then that flaking generally finishes up around day 10. At that point, it's going to look really light. So it's going to go from looking really dark in comparison to what you're used to where the scabs come off, it's going to look super light. But as that pigment oxidizes, as your skin goes through its own cycle, that pigment will gradually bloom, as we say, and it will darken back up over the course of 4 weeks post-procedure. But in the meantime, you can pencil in as it's going through its blooming process. But you cannot pencil in while you still have any scabs left on the skin. Makeup definitely carries a ton of bacteria, and you wouldn't want to put anything on there that could cause you to get an infection.
So I should pretty much avoid all makeup on and right around my brows for about 10 days or so.
Yes, ma'am. No picking, no scratching. When you shower, you want to make sure that you are keeping your back to the shower head. You know, inevitably, they're going to be a little bit damp when you get out of the shower. Just don't go take in a long, hot, steamy shower. Like I said, keep your back to the shower head. Shield them basically like you do when you're keeping the shampoo out of your eyes anyway, right? Pain level still good?
Yeah.
So we did pre-numb for a few minutes prior before we got started. just working section by section here. We have pre-drawn. And just do a little bit at a time just to make sure that the exact line is followed. Because as you work, there will be some swelling, which can distort just a little bit. So you just want to always make sure that you're staying as precise as possible, because the eyes can deceive. Get a little bit closer in towards the bulb. It can be just a little bit more sensitive.
I feel like this is way less painful than tweezing my eyebrows.
Yeah, tweezing can really make your eyes water. This is also, the process is also less painful than microblading. Microblading is actually much more traumatic to the skin. No, I have plenty of clients that can fall asleep during microblading, but many more fall asleep for this.
I can see that.
It's almost relaxing with the vibration, you know, from the machine. number one, I'm going to dab a little pigment on here, and then a little secondary numbing. And while we do the first pass on the other side, this will give a little pigment some time to kind of absorb in the skin, and you will numb really well so that when we come back to it, as easy as that was, it's going to be super easy. And come back.
So thank y'all for joining us. You've seen how easy it is, super comfortable. I feel like I probably take more time making sure my eyebrows are even when I do my makeup. So we will be back later to show you the final results. And if y'all have any questions, leave them in the comments and we'll answer them for you later. Thanks so much.